At deadly shooting scenes, it's typical for detectives to collect evidence like bullets, shell casings, or guns. But when Norfolk police found $250,000 in a victim's car, flags were raised. Years later, that money made its way to courts, and they deemed who was the rightful owner. A man who was convicted of drug distribution charges on Friday in Norfolk also lost his mom and sister back in 2021. A judge sentenced 27-year-old Marvin Bazemore Jr. to 5 years in prison last week. This after police found weed, cocaine, scales, and money in his car in October of 2022. Judge Martin also fined Bazemore $50,000 in the case. It's a lot of money, but you could say he's good for it. The same court system that locked him up, paperwork says, just distributed $250,000 to him and his stepdad earlier this month. It was the same stack of Benjamins found in the car his mom, Alicia Hereford, was driving just before she and her daughter, Morgan Bazemore, were killed on Gough Street. Norfolk Commonwealth's attorney, Ramin Fadahi, says the deaths were heartbreaking and the money suspicious.
When I heard about the $250,000 in the trunk of the victim's car and the nearly $15,000 in counterfeit on the floorboards, that set off all kinds of alarm bells for me.
The case was closed when Morgan Bazemore's then boyfriend, Kenyatta Jones, pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in their deaths in March of 2023.
At that point, the money reverted back to the police department. And the police department and the city attorney's office were the folks in custody of that money and were the folks who would ultimately have to release that money to whomever its owner was.
Bazemore filed a complaint later that year, claiming the money was his mom's life savings. And in light of her passing, he was the rightful owner. Courts later determined he was right.
We would have to determine first, was there a crime that led to that money being that money? Who committed it? And then can we prove it? And we had none of those pieces.
The money was ordered to be distributed to Bazemore and his stepfather on March 7th. 2 weeks later, Bazemore was sentenced for that drug conviction. Bazemore could be released as early as 2028. As for the money, there's really no telling when or what it'll be used for.